Hello all. So we are posting the part 2 of the properties of fluids lecture session. My name is Sawan Wani. I am assistant professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, Padma Bhushan Vasantrao Dada Patil Institute of Technology, Budgaon in Sangli. Basically, we are learning the sessions based on fluid mechanics and fluid and turbo machinery, and now we are focusing on properties of fluids part 2. In the first part we have seen the various types of other properties of fluids, such as mass density, then weight density, specific volume and viscosity. So in this, now we are going to see the further properties of fluids which are available. So going towards the first slide, first is before studying, we are having some another technical point known as types of fluids. So there are various types of fluids, or fluids can be categorized in various types as Newtonian fluids, then second is non-Newtonian fluids, then third is plastic fluids, and fourth is ideal fluids. Now all these the types of the fluids will be based on how the fluids perform at a particular shear stress and the rate of shear strain, or the basic difference between the fluids will be determining that their behavior under various the conditions of operation, the actual fluids will be differed. So going to the next slide here, we are having a certain graph. So before going to the theory, we will see the graph first of a particular fluid. At the x-axis, you will find that velocity gradient is present, that is the ratio of du by dy. And here you will see up to certain extent there is a yield stress, and then after yield stress there is a shear stress. So here for Newtonian fluid, you can see that easily a straight line is there. Means what? This straight line denotes that the Newtonian fluid obeys the Newton's law of viscosity, or we can say that the rate of shear stress is directly proportional to rate of shear strain, or shear stress is directly proportional to shear strain. So therefore this line is vertical. Then you can see that for non-Newtonian fluid, this is a curve. You can see here a curve, means there are certain changes when there is a non-Newtonian fluid, so they do not obey a linear strain, so they do not obey the Newton's law of viscosity. For ideal plastic fluid, you will see that once the yield stress is reached, or it started at yield stress and then it is again a linear. For a thixotropic substance, you will see that some part of that is included in included in yield stress, but after that it crosses the shear stress. Then after certain value of a velocity gradient, it remains constant. For dilatant fluid, the value starts from 0 and it increases as the velocity gradient is increasing. For ideal fluid, mostly the line will be horizontal because the viscosity value is 0. So therefore the value it will be having a straight line which is a horizontal axis based on the velocity gradient. And for elastic solid liquid, the line will be vertical, so that there will be no any velocity gradient, there will be no flow for fluid, so therefore that will be an elastic fluid type. Then for real plastic fluid, if you observe the graph here, it is somewhat observing the same nature as a non-Newtonian fluid, but it will have some higher values of the yield stresses. So first is Newtonian fluid. These fluids follow Newton's law of viscosity. For such fluids, the mu does not change with rate of deformation. So what are the examples of Newtonian fluids here? Water, kerosene, air are the examples of Newtonian fluid. Second is non-Newtonian fluids. The fluids which do not follow the linear relationship between shear stress and rate of deformation are termed as non-Newtonian fluids. So basically, these such fluids are relatively uncommon. Now we will see now that what are the examples of non-Newtonian fluids, because they do not obey the Newton's law of viscosity or the linear relationship between the shear stress and the rate of deformation. So solutions or suspensions like slurries, then mud flows, polymer solutions, blood, etc. are non-Newtonian fluids. These fluids are generally complex mixtures and are studied under rheology, a science of deformation of flow. So I would like to elaborate the actual word rheology here. So what is the rheology? This rheology is nothing but a process under which it studies the deformation of shear stress and strain of a fluid under certain conditions. So we can measure the rheology of water. There are certain rheometers available for measuring the rheology of water. So basically, the rheology is related with shear stress and shear strain. Then third is plastic fluids. In the case of a plastic substance which is non-Newtonian fluid, an initial yield stress is to be exceeded to cause a continuous deformation. These substances are represented by straight line intersecting the vertical axis at the yield stress. Now, an ideal plastic or Binningham plastic has a definite yield stress and a constant linear relationship between shear stress and the rate of angular deformation. So, the line which we were speaking about, that is the ideal plastic fluid, is this. Examples of the ideal plastic fluids are sewage sludge, then drilling muds, etc. A thixotropic substance, which is non-Newtonian fluid, has a non-linear relationship between the shear stress and rate of angular deformation beyond an initial yield stress. So this is the line which we are speaking about. The printer's ink is an example of a thixotropic substance. So whenever a printer ink is there, it is coming under a thixotropic fluid. Now, going to the next point is the surface tension property of a fluid. What is the meaning of a surface tension? So basically, first going to the surface tension, we are having the two actual properties of the water molecules. First is cohesion and second is adhesion. So what is cohesion? Cohesion means intermolecular attraction between molecules of the same liquid. Means what? There are certain molecules in a fluid flow. So if there is an intermolecular attraction, means the molecules are attracted towards each other, then of the same particular liquid, then we say that cohesion is taking place. It enables a liquid to resist small amount of tensile stresses. Cohesion is a tendency of the liquid to remain as one assemblage of particles. Surface tension is due to cohesion between particles at the free surface. So here you will see that as a liquid molecule is there inside the fluid completely immersed, there are equal and opposite forces generated. Then if it is beneath the surface of the fluid, then you can say that there are only some forces generated. And here if you will see that the surface, the actual bubble or the fluid particle is at the top of the free surface of water, then only the forces generated are in the downward direction where liquid is present. So the force will not come in over the air or the surface of the water. Then adhesion. Adhesion means attraction between the molecules of a liquid and the molecules of a solid boundary surface in contact with the liquid. So this adhesion will occur when the water is flowing through a pipe. So there will be some attraction between the molecules of water and the inside surface of the pipe. So that we say that the concept is of adhesion. This property enables a liquid to stick to another body. So both properties are important. Capillary action is due to both cohesion and adhesion. Now we will go to the surface tension. So surface tension is caused by the force of cohesion at the free surface. So here you can see that the cohesion force at the free surface of the water, and here it is the molecule. Then a liquid molecule in the interior of the liquid mass is surrounded by other molecules all around and is in equilibrium. At the free surface of liquid, there are no liquid molecules above the surface to balance the force of the molecules below it. So as we explained, if the molecule is inside the liquid, then it is completely balanced because the forces are equal and opposite in direction. But if the surface is at the top side of the free surface, or it is just beneath, so that the forces are unbalanced, then we can say that the fluid molecule is also unbalanced. So as shown in figure, there is an net inward force on the molecule. The force is normal to the liquid surface. At the free surface, a thin layer of molecule is formed. So that here at the top side only we will see that equal and opposite force is there. But for the beneath three forces, there are no any equal and opposite forces at the top of the surface. Then this is because of this film that a thin small needle can float on the free surface. Means this is the way in which we can see that if a needle is placed on a water surface, then it flows. This is due to the force created by the downward fluid on the particular pin or needle, and therefore it flows over the surface of water. Some important examples now for phenomenon of surface tension for actually understanding the meaning of the surface tension property of fluid. First is raindrop. A falling raindrop becomes spherical due to cohesion and surface tension. So while the raindrops are falling, they appear as circular, or they actual appear as a spherical shape due to the cohesion and surface tension systems. Rise of sap in a tree. Rise of sap in a tree, again it is an example of surface tension. Bird can drink water from ponds, that is also a surface tension concept. Capillary rise and capillary siphoning, then collection of dust particles on water surface and breakup of liquid jets. So these are all examples of surface tension. Now we will see the other various types, how to calculate the value of a surface tension force. Pressure inside a water droplet. Here what we are going to do is three cases we will be taking. One we will take for a water droplet, second we can take for a soap bubble, and third we can take for a liquid jet. So first is a pressure inside a water droplet. So here you can see three forces connected here. One is water droplet shown by a blue color. Second are the pressure forces acting on that particular water droplet. And third is the surface tension forces acting on the surface of the actual water droplet. So now you can easily understand the concept of surface tension here with the help of this diagram. And when we consider this as a fluid body diagram, means considering this 3D diagram into a 2D diagram, so here water droplet will appear as a circular, and here the surface tension forces will be acting, which are shown here. So basically the surface tension force will always act on the top surface of the water or any droplet. So let P is equal to pressure inside the droplet above atmospheric pressure. So therefore the delta P is equal to P minus 0 is equal to P again above atmospheric pressure. D is the diameter of droplet, and the sigma is surface tension of the liquid. So the from free body diagram, what we can understand is the pressure force which is entering is equal to the amount of pressure on that particular area. So the actual pressure is acting on that particular area of the droplet, because the droplet is circular. So therefore we will have the pressure force as P into, that is the magnitude of pressure, P into area of the circle is pi by 4 d square. So P into area, that will be the pressure force. Second is surface tension force acting around the circumference. Now we will know that this is the surface tension, that is the surface of the droplet. So here the surface tension force will be created. So is equal to surface tension force, that is magnitude sigma. Here you can see here sigma into the circumference. Now circumference of the particular circle, we know the formula is 2 pi r, or we can also find 2r means diameter. So 2 times radius is 1 times diameter. So it is also known as pi d. So sigma force into pi d is the surface tension force acting around the circumference of that particular water droplet. So now see that as the for balancing of the fluid molecule, this pressure force is acting in the left hand direction, and this actual surface tension force is acting in right hand direction to balance the water droplet. So what we will do is we are inserting two equations. One which is on the left hand, which is going on the left hand side, is taken at LHS, which is going on the right hand side, it is taken at RHS. So what will happen is from that we have to find the pressure inside a water droplet. So P is remaining as it is, sigma pi d will remain as it is, divided by this whole particular value of area will go, so divided by pi by 4 d square. So here d and d will be cancelled, pi and pi will be cancelled, 4 will go in the numerator. So we get pressure value of inside a water droplet is equal to 4 into sigma divided by d. So this is the value of pressure inside a water droplet. Going for the next point is pressure inside a soap bubble. Soap bubbles have two surfaces on which surface tension sigma acts. Now you will see the soap bubble, it is having an inside diameter also and outside diameter also. So there will be two types or two amount, the surface tension will act in two surfaces. So how to calculate this now? So the pressure and the area will remain constant as earlier for water droplet. So P into pi by 4 d square will remain as it is equal to sigma into pi d will also remain as it is. This is for a single surface. So for two surfaces it will be multiplied by 2. So therefore P is equal to 2 sigma into pi d divided by, as usual, pi by 4 d square. So we will get here 8 sigma divided by d. So the value for calculating pressure inside a soap bubble is P is equal to 8 sigma divided by d. Since soap solution has a high value of surface tension, even with small pressure of blowing, a soap bubble will tend to grow larger in diameter. And so only we see that the soap bubbles which are there, they are not able to diminish in the atmosphere, at a lower pressure. So some pressure is exerted and then only these bubbles can be bursted, or they grew in larger diameter up till the surface tension force is reduced, and then only they are bursted. So hence formation of large soap bubbles. Now third is the pressure inside a liquid jet. Now remember that the two quantities which we have taken is for the actual circular quantities. Now we are going to take for a certain liquid jet which is coming inside the system here. So pressure inside a liquid jet. The diagram will show here that the surface tension forces are acting on the upward side or the outside of the liquid jet, and the liquid jet is flowing through the system. So let us consider a cylindrical liquid jet of diameter d and length L. So here it is the diameter of the particular jet which is coming outside the system, and the length of that particular liquid jet is L. So how to calculate pressure force? So pressure force will be P into L into D. Again we know that force is equal to the area into the amount of pressure, or pressure is equal to force upon area. So for calculation force, force will be equal to P into L into D. Here the area is L into D. So surface tension force will be equal to sigma into, now see here why 2L is taken. There are two surfaces by which the surface tension force will be created. One is at this end and second is at this end. So therefore sigma into 2L. Now we have to again equate this force, because these two forces will be equal and opposite forces for balancing this liquid jet. So we have taken P into L into D at left hand side is equal to sigma into 2L in the right hand side. So P is equal to sigma into 2L divided by L into D. So L and L will be cancelled, and the final equation which we get is P is equal to 2 sigma divided by D. So now see that when a water droplet is taken into consideration, we get 4 sigma by D. When we take a soap bubble, we get 8 sigma by D. When we take a liquid jet, we get 2 sigma by D. So basically, the calculation of pressure is only related with the diameter of the system or any type of liquid, the liquid flowing diameter, and the surface tension force which is acting on this. So we have limited our lecture to only surface tension in this and the types of the fluids. In next lecture, we are going to see the various other concepts of the properties of fluids like capillarity, then bulk modulus, compressibility, then vapor pressure, etc. So we are limiting our this lecture up to this surface tension property only. Also there is a request for all of you that please subscribe our YouTube channel for receiving more videos. As we have started new lecture series, it will help all of you to understand the subject of fluid mechanics in a very easy manner. So kindly subscribe to channel, view the lectures, and please give your suggestions if any. Thank you.